It's time for Let's Chat with Russtek, a podcast dedicated to helping entrepreneurs just like you. When starting out, entrepreneurs often feel they need to go it alone, and I'm here to tell you that's just not the case. Entrepreneurs have a lot of questions, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Nick Russell, and this is Let's Chat with Russtek. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Chat with Russtek. My name is Nick Russell. Now, going back to 2016 and that day in October that I got fired, I walked into my district manager's office completely blindsided. And it's kind of funny. When one of the managers that I had when I was permanent part-time and a full-timer, he'd always told me, if the manager is doing his or her job properly, you should never be blindsided in a meeting. If you go into an appraisal meeting and you get a bad review, you should not be blindsided by that if the manager is doing their job. Because the whole point of being a manager is to coach and train and get your employees to be where you want them to be and help them. If you are going into a great, good review, you shouldn't be blindsided by that. You should have the support of your manager and you should be praising your employees all the way through for the great job that they're doing. So I went into this meeting completely blindsided. I was never coached. I knew I was doing a great job, yet I was going into this meeting getting fired. Getting into the office that afternoon before I was heading out of town to my store for the night shift so I can count stock, I walked into the district manager's office, and typically this is something where he would meet me in the lobby of the office. We would go to the Tim Hortons, grab a coffee that's in the parking lot in the back corner, come back and go about our business. Well, that wasn't the case that day. I walked into the office, and the human resources manager from corporate office was down, as well as him. Now, he was sitting at his desk across from where I sat down with a piece of paper on his desk, and he never once looked up. He looked at this piece of paper. He read a script that basically said I was being let go, got up, and walked out. Don't remember exactly what he said because I was in shock that I was being let go from somewhere that I spent 16 years putting my blood, sweat, and tears into my work. Basically, after that, I sat down with the human resource manager, who I knew very well. We had a conversation. Again, I was still in shock. So I don't remember a lot of that. But basically, they handed me a contract to look over, and I had a week to review that. And it was basically them giving me a golden handshake, because the situation that led to that point was my full-timer assaulting me with an empty bottle and not being able to let him go as easily because he's in a union where I was. Now, I went home and sat in silence. I went to my living room, which was kind of a long, narrow living room, sat in the back corner. The lamp that was literally right next to me, I didn't turn on, put my phone down on the table, and I just let it buzz. I had text messages and calls and Facebook messages, and you name it. Everybody and their brother was calling me and texting me and trying to see if I was okay, what happened. But I just didn't want to deal with that. I sat there and I reflected. And it got so late, I didn't even realize how dark it got. I was just so deep in thought that it was late that night. It was probably close to midnight, pitch black. Hadn't eaten, nothing. Went to bed and kind of spent the next day reflecting, looking back at the 16 years of everything that I did and trying to figure out what I was going to do next. Now, that's kind of where the really cool transition started and kind of where my entrepreneurial journey started. And as I've said many times before, that's when I realized what I love to do. And I definitely wasn't going to work for anybody else and have to deal with this again when there's so much politics involved. I wanted to do something that I loved. And like I did at the beer store, I wanted to help and serve others. Now at the beer store, I was serving them cases of beer, where this way I can serve my audience with knowledge and help them grow. Because when my manager talked, he told me, if you're a good manager, you're going to help lead your team. You're going to make sure they have the tools and the resources they have in order to do their job at the highest level. Now, I didn't want to be in retail anymore, so I can do this now with the people that I serve. So I did everything I could. I took every course, webinar, all of that stuff, just like we talked about last week. So that was me in my reporter phase. I was learning. Now, the cool thing was I didn't realize how much I was learning and what I was doing at that point. When I look back, everything that I learned kind of gave me the tools to help build my framework and what I'd use in order to help all of you. So whether you've seen one of my webinars, listening to these podcasts, my blogs, even a lot of the content I put out, those all stem from the frameworks that I've built in order to serve others. Now, it's kind of cool when you look back at frameworks and using these to teach others. One of the best examples I have of that is Russell Brunson's quote unquote perfect webinar framework. Now, the way Russell does it is he doodles these little drawings, and that's kind of his framework. Now, obviously, there's a lot more to it, but when he gives out these frameworks, it's little doodles. And the reason he does that is he has a little binder, and I actually have a binder as well in the desk behind me of all of those doodles that he has. So when I'm going back to learn something new, I can do that. So going back to his perfect webinar framework, it's a one-page doodle. But what this framework does is it enables him to, it enables him to pitch an offer that he has. But even more so, it's how he teaches. So the structure of that, of how he tells his stories, how he provides his value, and how that leads into him giving an offer to his audience, it makes that offer seem that much better. And these are things that you could do as well. Now, one of the things he talks about, and one of the frameworks he uses, is he talks about his cell phone, his iPhone, and how to sell it. Now, in my hand, I don't have my BlackBerry. I have this Samsung phone until the new BlackBerry comes out. But I've used this before as well. I had my BlackBerry Key 2. And if I offered you that BlackBerry Key 2, chances are you don't want it. It's got really crappy specs. It's about 2.5, 3 years old now. And it's going to be at its end of life in a couple of years. So you're not going to want to pay a lot of money for that. So what I did was, when I tried to sell this phone, I said, okay, I have this BlackBerry Key 2. And on this BlackBerry Key 2, I have all of the top marketers in the world, all of their contact lists in this phone. And with that, I also have Russell Brunson's in there. Now, you have the ability to text Russell Brunson, Rachel Peterson, Josh Forty, Alex Scherfen, all of these marketers, all of these entrepreneurs that are at the top of the game. You can text them and say, I sent you as a reference. Can they help you? So makes the deal a little bit better. But that wasn't enough. On top of having all of these phone numbers, I want to add a little more value to this phone. I'm going to give you all of the courses that I've ever bought. So from the time I left the beer store in 2016, every course that I've bought that has helped me grow my company and help me serve my audience, I'm going to leave that on here. So whether that's a video, whether that's a PDF book, whether that's a bunch of documents, everything and anything that I have used, all of the websites that have all of the trainings on there. So One Funnel Away, for example, I have the login for that, and that'll be on here. You could log in to the One Funnel Away challenge for free and watch all the trainings right there on the phone. So now, not only do you have all of the top marketers in the world, that's priceless to have. You're also going to have all of the courses that I've paid thousands of dollars from 2016 till now. That's all on here. And on top of that, I'm going to, because you have this phone, you'll have direct access for me to ask me any question you ever want for me to help you out. If you need help developing your story, if you need help creating content, I can do that. Now, as something to put over top, one of the best tools that I ever bought was a program called Funnel Scripts. Now, it cost me $1,000 US. And this program, this website, this software is a web copy, a script copy. It's all of the copy that you need, all the scripts that you need in one spot. All you have to do is answer a couple questions, and it'll give you a script for your sales letters, your long form sales letters, your Facebook ads, your copy, your blogs, your podcast scripts, everything. All of that will be here. So if I was in a room full of people and I started the bidding at $1,000, a lot of people jumped at that chance. Kept going up, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000 for a BlackBerry Key 2 that very few people want. But you're not buying the BlackBerry. You're buying the value that's on this phone. I took the perceived value of the BlackBerry Key 2, and I took that from, say, $500 up to $10,000. Now, all of that, what I just did there was I went through an offer stack that's part of the perfect webinar, quote unquote, perfect webinar, but it's more than that, framework. So Russell teaches you how to do all that. Now I've taken what he's taught, kind of modeled it to fit me a little bit better and our business a little bit better. So I can use that to help you. And if you've noticed in the last little over a month, I've been kind of doing that on a very small scale, talking about Dotcom Secrets and then now Expert Secrets. So again, everything that I've talked about in this podcast, as well as the last couple of months, that's all the stuff that I've learned out of those two books. And the best part is, again, those two books are absolutely free. All you have to do is pay for shipping. Now, if you want those two books, as well as the Traffic Secrets book, you can get the Trilogy book, which also has the Unlock the Secrets book, where you can draw out and develop your framework right from that workbook that goes with the actual 3 books. So that's how you take everything you've learned, you turn it into your own, and you develop your own framework, your own style to teach and serve your audience. So that's all I had for you today. And again, you'll hear the clip in the next one talking about Expert Secrets. But if you look in the description below, I'll have a link for both Dotcom Secrets and Expert Secrets. So you can pick those books up for free. So hopefully you enjoyed this podcast. Hopefully you take action and grab at least one of those books. Start with Dotcom Secrets, but the storytelling and how to use the stuff you learn in Dotcom Secrets is all in the Expert Secrets books. So hopefully you enjoyed the podcast again. Hopefully those books help you out as much as they helped me out. And we'll chat with you again next week. Hold up one quick second. I have one thing to offer you and it's absolutely free. So just give me about 20, 30 seconds of your time, and I promise you this is going to be worth it. Now, if you've been listening to my podcast, my blogs for the last few weeks, we've been talking about Expert Secrets, a book by Russell Brunson. Now, this is a book you can get absolutely free. All you have to do is click the link to the description of this podcast or YouTube video if you're watching it. But this is not just any book. This is a book that helps you find your message, no matter what your industry is, and use that to serve your audience and become an expert in whatever field it is you're in. Now, this book is what Russell uses, everything from cover to cover. He uses this to coach his clients, and to be one of his clients, he charges $10,000. So you could either spend $10,000 to learn from the best marketer in the world, or you can click the link in the description of this podcast / YouTube video and get your copy of Expert Secrets absolutely free. I've read this book about 4 or 5 times at least, and I use it as a textbook now because it is that good. So again, if you want Expert Secrets for free, something Russell Brunson uses and charges his clients $10,000 for, you can get that absolutely free by clicking the link in the description of this video or heading to rustekmedia.com/links and click on the Expert Secrets button.